When we talk about gymnosperms, we're talking about a group of plants that are truly ancient, a lineage that has been around for hundreds of millions of years. The name gymnosperm comes from the Greek word for naked seed, and that gives you a clue about one of the most important features of these plants. Unlike flowering plants, or angiosperms, gymnosperms produce seeds that are exposed, usually on scales or cones, rather than being enclosed in a fruit. This was a major evolutionary innovation because seeds protect the embryonic plant and give it a food supply, allowing it to survive in harsh conditions and disperse over long distances. Seeds were one of the innovations that allowed plants to dominate the land long before flowers appeared. Gymnosperms include many trees that we see every day, especially conifers like pines, firs, spruces, cedars, and redwoods. Most gymnosperms are evergreen, although there are exceptions, like larches, which are deciduous and shed their needles seasonally. Their leaves tend to be needle-like or scale-like, often thick and coated with wax. This leaf structure minimizes water loss, protects against freezing, and allows photosynthesis to continue even in harsh conditions. That's why you'll often see gymnosperms thriving in environments where water is limited, soils are poor, or winters are cold. Reproduction in gymnosperms is quite different from flowering plants. Instead of flowers, gymnosperms produce cones. Male cones produce pollen, which is usually carried by the wind to female cones that contain ovules. When the ovules are fertilized, they develop into seeds. Because the seeds are not enclosed in fruit, they're considered naked. Some gymnosperms, like cycads and ginkgo, represent even older reproductive forms, showing us a glimpse of how plants reproduced before flowers evolved. Gymnosperms also rely heavily on wind pollination, which is why they tend to produce large amounts of pollen. This contrasts with flowering plants, many of which use animals to carry pollen. The evolutionary history of gymnosperms is fascinating. Fossil evidence shows that they were dominant during the late Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras, over 300 million years ago. During this time, gymnosperms were the primary trees on the planet, long before angiosperms became widespread. They were the first plants to develop seeds, and that innovation gave them a huge advantage. Seeds could survive dry spells, cold conditions, and other environmental stresses that spores alone could not. As flowering plants evolved and spread, gymnosperms declined in some regions, but they remained dominant in many ecosystems, especially in boreal forests, mountain ranges, and arid or semi-arid environments. In California, gymnosperms are incredibly diverse and ecologically important. On the northern coast, coast redwoods tower above the landscape, their needles capturing moisture from fog and providing habitat for countless species. In the Sierra Nevada, giant sequoias dominate the high elevation forests with their massive ancient forms. In drier regions, you'll find coulter pines, ponderosa pines, and lodgepole pines thriving on rocky soils. Coastal areas also have Monterey cypress, while inland valleys and foothills features junipers and incense cedars. These trees are not just visually striking, they stabilize soil, influence local water cycles, and create microclimates that support understory plants and wildlife. Gymnosperms play unique roles in their ecosystems. Their needles or scale-like leaves decompose slowly, which affects soil chemistry and nutrient cycling. They provide consistent shelter and food for wildlife, even in winter, which is particularly important for species that rely on year-round cover. Gymnosperms also shape forest structure, often forming dense canopies or towering over other vegetation, which influences light availability and competition within the ecosystem. For humans, gymnosperms have been essential for timber, paper, resins, and other products, and iconic trees like redwoods and sequoias are cultural and historical landmarks. From an arborist perspective, gymnosperms behave differently than broadleaf trees. Many grow slowly, but live for hundreds or even thousands of years. Their persistent foliage means stress signals aren't always obvious, so monitoring for disease, pests, or structural issues requires careful observation. Pruning and management strategies also differ because these trees don't follow the same seasonal cycles as deciduous trees. Understanding their growth patterns, water needs, and reproductive cycles is crucial for proper care, whether you're managing urban trees or natural forest stands. It's also fascinating to consider how gymnosperms connect us to the deep history of life on Earth. Walking through a forest of pines, firs, or redwoods is like stepping back in time. You're seeing living representatives of lineage that dominated the planet long before flowering plants or humans existed. They tell a story of adaptation and survival, showing us how plants evolved strategies like needles, cones, and long-lived seeds to cope with changing climates and environmental pressures. In summary, gymnosperms are naked seed plants that predate flowering plants by hundreds of millions of years. They include conifers like pines, firs, cedars, and redwoods, as well as more primitive forms like cycads and ginkgo. Most are evergreen, with leaves adapted to conserve water and withstand harsh conditions, and they reproduce using cones instead of flowers. Their ancient evolutionary history, ecological importance, and iconic presence in landscapes like California's forests make them a central focus for anyone studying arboriculture. Understanding gymnosperms helps arborists care for these trees effectively, from pruning and maintenance to conservation and habitat management.